watching Democratically Speaking. Mark Linde, your host. I'm the chairman of the Brockton Democratic City Committee, and I have in the studio a familiar Monday night face and weekend face, Moises Rodrigues, City Councillor-At-Large. Welcome, Moses.
Hey, thank you very much, Mark. Thank you.
So you love this stuff so much, you're doing it again. You're running for re-election to be a Councillor-At-Large. Why?
You know, a lot of times you ask yourself that kind of question. But I believe the reason why at least I'm doing it is because coming from Africa as a youngster and having the opportunity to be here with my parents and given a hand in the sense to progress within the American society, I feel that I was lucky enough to get that hand. And I feel that it's important for me to give somebody else a hand and help them out. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to run and be a voice for those sometimes that we don't hear. You know, they speak, but we don't hear them. So that's the reason why I ran, and that's the reason why I'm seeking re-election again, to continue to do that for the people of Brockton.
Now, you have a slogan, for Brockton always. I've known you in different roles, different capacities. When I first met you, besides doing the television program here, you've been very, very active in the Cape Verde Association in the presidency, as the interim executive director. You were involved, you worked in the mayor's office under Mayor Harrington as his communication and guru, all sorts of things over there. You were on this board of directors for Brockton Community Access. I mean, you've been doing your show here longer than I've been here. Yeah. That's volunteerism, that's community service. Yeah, you get paid as a city councilor, but I'm sure the hours outweigh. Oh yeah, it's a big, well, you get paid more than I do. I don't get anything on the Southeastern School Committee. But you ran before. You ran once before and didn't win.
Right, in 2003.
And you and I have a running joke about how the blanks outdid everybody. But you turned that around 2 years ago when you came in. What did you come in the order?
I was third.
Third. But, I mean,
third out of 13.
You had two established, third out of 13, and you got 13 again in this preliminary election. Would you place on the ballot for this election?
I'm second.
Second, so that's good. You got Mr. Sullivan, who's number one, who ends up being number one. I won't do all your opponents' names too much because we have them on TV too. Okay, you have taken stances, strong stances on the city council from the opposite end of the spectrum, or from a different end of the spectrum. Okay, the desal thing specifically. There's a proposal on the table right now to buy that plant for $88 million. You're the one, I think, that convinced the other councilors to stop funding the desal and not to pay anything more till they lived up to their end of the contract. I think when you have an 11-member council, this is my opinion, you got to have a mix of old and new, people that are there, new faces. You're going to have a few new seats anyway because people are leaving office.
Right.
Talk about the desal and what was your reasoning behind pushing it in that direction. I know it's in the face of major opposition from the corner office.
Right. Well, the interesting thing is I know the desal was a mandate from the state that we needed to do something with the water issue here in the city. And don't get me wrong, I like the idea of having a second water source. But when you've got an organization such as Aquaria that I started in the council 18 months ago, every month those folks are on the agenda to come before the council to give us an update, because we hear how they have not been able to produce the water that they claim that they could produce. We hear that they haven't done the advertisement to sell the water to relieve the city the financial stresses that they actually had promised to relieve us. So we put them on the agenda every month to ask these folks to come before us just to give us an explanation of what's going on. Like, for instance, I know in the council there's some councils talking about how they just wanted to know whether or not they did the advertisement. I want to go beyond that. I want to look at it and say, you know what, I want to know from your mouth exactly how much this plant is worth. How much did you pay for the plant? Who owns the plant? I hear that there's a small minority that owns a certain percentage of the plant. I want to know who those folks are. And you know, in this city we have a tendency that a lot of times we talk about things, oh, it's personal personnel matter, we can't discuss it. It's confidential, can't discuss it. But listen, in my opinion, if you take a dollar from the taxpayers, it's no longer personal or private. You know, and to me, if you go into business with the city, you better be prepared to provide the city's leadership with the items that they're requesting. We are a representative form of government. You know, the people elect their city councilors to speak on their behalf. It's not that I get out of bed and all of a sudden I feel like, today I'm going to go and bust the chops of Aquaria. It's citizens in this city that have those issues. Therefore, their representative, their city council, owes it to them to bring those issues forward. And that's what I did. I basically had those questions, and they kept playing games with us. You know, every month you ask them to come. We found it became a running joke on the council, basically. You know, let's make a bet whether or not financial bet, but let's make a bet whether or not they show up. And we got to the meeting, and the president usually will say, I got an email at 6 o'clock saying that they couldn't come to the 7 o'clock meeting. So finally it got to a point where I said, well, you know what? I know one way to get people to respect and abide by the rules and regs that apply to everybody. Because it says on the contract that they are supposed to provide regular information to the body. Mm-hmm. Well, regular information means showing up and answering the questions. So they weren't doing that, so I felt that it was important enough to lobby the other councilors and cut their funding. And hold and behold, you know, Lord and behold, they were there the next council meeting. I mean, basically knocking on the doors now. I want to come, and I can't talk to you, to a point where were you 3 months ago? Where were you 6 months ago? And I honestly believe that, you know, we have them exactly where we want them to be, and this is the right time to basically continue the pressure and let them know that we're not going to sit here and be a bunch of pushovers. As far as purchasing the plant, I have a hard time believing that educated individuals, and I'm talking about anybody that graduated maybe to, let's say, the 2nd grade, that knows how to do math. You know, this company buys 6 plants altogether for $340 million. 6 plants, some of which are 10 times larger than the one here in Dighton. They paid $340 million for 6, which in my poor math, back in the days, I know we got the old Brockton High School, you know, but I remember in my math, I could divide 340 by 6, and it's not $88 million. So they bought that plant for way under the $88 million that they're thinking that they're giving the city such a good deal. And that's what I want to know. I want to know why our elected official, our chief executive officer of the city, the mayor, the CFO, and those individuals are willing to shell out $88 million for a plant that's probably worth about $30 to $40 million.
Now, let's talk about that. There's 2 forms of government in the city. We're a Plan B form of government. The official charter refers to it as strong council, weak mayor. I don't like that terminology, but that's what it is. And we've seen strong mayors and weak councils, and we've seen strong councils and weak mayors over the years. You've been around the block for a while. Talk about the relationship between the mayor and the city council. You guys are on complete opposite ends of the planet on the power plant, okay? Well, that the mayor reached a settlement. I'm not in all those executive session meetings. I know you can't talk about them because I'm an elected official, and I know when you're in executive session, you can't go out in public and talk about it, especially when there's a lawsuit. Exactly. But is there going to be a break in the thaw in the relationship or something between the council and the mayor? It just seems like, and we're in the middle of an election again, where the mayor's running for re-election with 3 challengers, okay? How does that help, hurt? What happens with the city about getting things done if the 2 parties aren't, if they aren't getting along? Well, or if they are getting along? Well, you were in the mayor's, another mayor's office, from a mayor who came out of the council. Talk about that.
And the interesting thing is, coming from that other relationship, I was always told you have to foster a relationship with the stronger arm of government. That's when I was with the Harrington administration. That was a well-known fact. You know that they were the stronger arm of government. If you want to get anything done in the city, you have to have a relationship with the stronger arm. This mayor, for some odd reason, chose not to do that. Well, he began by suing the council. That, to me, is not signs of a good relationship to come if the first thing you do is send notices to the individual councilors that they're being sued. That, to me, right off the bat, it tells me that you don't value my input, you don't value our relationship, our duly elected relationship, because, again, you don't have to like me for me, but I think you have no choice but to like me as a city councilor if you expect me to support your notions and motions. You don't have to like me personally, and I don't have a problem with that. But the point is, I was elected by the folks at home that are watching us right now to be a voice for them. And again, I'm not asking the mayor or any of the other councils to be a friend of mine or friends of mine. But I asked them to respect the fact that I was elected by a very large number of people in this community to speak on their behalf. So when you've got the executive power or the executive office that doesn't see that, runs the city as if you are a Plan A city where you don't really need the council for anything. You sue the council over an appointment, but yet you need the council to approve your appointments. I mean, that, again, I know I don't have a triple PhD from Harvard or anything like that, but I can tell you that that's not a good thing to do. You can't expect to sue me over an appointment that we make, and then you expect me to approve your appointments. How does that work? You know? So that actually soured the relationship right off the bat. You know? The fact that we go to events and sometimes we're not even acknowledged as being part of anything that's on the plus side in this city. We get blamed for all the negativity that goes on in this city. We're called names, obstructionists, people that aren't rubber stampers. I guess we were supposed to be rubber stampers, but some of us aren't rubber stampers. Then there's no way that that could be a positive relationship.
Has it caused friction within the council itself, where you look at the votes and the votes seem to be similar councilors voting in a block and other councilors voting in a block? I know you have to have a supermajority for some things with 8 and a simple majority for other things with a 6. Is that strained the council? I know the council is together at least on the power plant issue, that there are 11 councilors that are against it.
Yep.
Okay, and I think this election could have an impact on where that is. Let me ask you this question. Do you think, as a city councilor, the mayor had the authority to act on the power plant and reach a settlement?
Well, you know what? The mayor can do anything he wants to do. Whether or not it's legal or valid is a different story. I mean, he can do whatever he wants to do.
And he's saying it is legal and valid.
I don't see how it is. And that's something that we can agree to disagree. But the fact is that it says clearly you've got an ordinance in the book that says the only folks authorized to sell the effluent water is the council, and you need to have a 2/3 vote in that council, a vote that we have not taken. Mm-hmm. It hasn't happened. So I don't see how you go ahead and you sign an agreement with somebody because they supported you or because you have some sort of an obligation to them, when in fact you're going against the wishes of the people of the city. And the reason why I say you're going against the wishes of the people of the city is because we are a representative form of government. So when you're not going with the representation, you're going against the people in the city. And again, for somebody that lives on the south side of this city, I don't have a single neighbor, friend, or family that lives in Ward 4, the southern part of the city, that actually has called me up and said, you know what, you need to support the power plant because it's a good thing for the city. You know, and I can't imagine this is, I mean, I noticed that I heard the other day from somebody saying, well, there's power plants all over Boston and then they're not an issue. Well, you know what? Those power plants in Boston are smaller than the one that's being proposed, and they're cooled with potable water. This is a power plant that's larger than all of those, located in the middle of the city, cooled by effluent water, that we have no idea what's on the effluent. We've got two major hospitals in this community. God knows what goes down the drain, and yet we're willing to take our chances and say, well, we'll put it up in the air and see what happens, but we believe that there's nothing wrong with it.
What are the big issues? I'm sure you're out there in between jobs and council service talking to people. You talk to people all the time at the association. What are people saying are the issues that are bothering them right now? I know there's a lot of talk right now about crime. It was a major issue in the last campaign, and it's a major daily occurrence in Brockton with things that are going on, especially over the summer. It was like that 2 years ago, before this mayor was the mayor. It was the last mayor. It was like that when you worked for Mayor Harrington. Is that the big issue? What are the issues that you're hearing when you talk to people?
Mark, crime and security in this city is the issue. It's even larger than the power plant. It's larger than the Aquaria issue. It's the issue in this community, because what it does is it doesn't even matter if it's actual crime, it's the perception of crime that often kills this community. It doesn't matter if a shooting takes place on the north side of the city, the south side pays for it, or the east and the west pays for it. So it doesn't really matter where it is. It's not in my backyard, it's not down in my neighborhood. As long as it happens within the boundaries of the city of Brockton, is the major issue in this city. And I honestly, my answer to this is because when I was with the Harrington administration, we did do something about crime in this community. Because in my opinion, you want to resolve crime in this community? Crime is not going to be solved by throwing police at it or throwing money at it, because otherwise it would have been done. We have now more police than we've ever had in the streets, with the influence of the state police and some of these other partners that we have in the community. That's not solving it. So it's not throwing police at it, but you know, one thing that's lacking is that connection between the community and law enforcement. We don't have that. We have, we talk about how, you know, we do these things between the police and some of these smaller things that we've got going on, but we don't have, you know, we need to have a serious meeting, and not just to bring ICE, you know,
well,
ATF,
the meeting that happened over at
the Arno.
Is that what you're talking
That's
about?
what I'm talking about.
You don't think that was effective?
No, it's not. It's not. In my opinion, it wasn't. It's let me tell you what we're doing. It's a show and tell.
Is there a disconnect between the police and different cultural groups? And the reason I'm asking you that is, it looks like the police department is starting to get more diverse. Okay, you and I know someone very well that's a recruit that's going into the police academy. Yep. There used to be huge crime watch in this city. In my ward, I'm in one. In my ward, they say, don't do crime watch because we're going to have crime if we watch it. So they don't want to have a group. They don't even want to have a meeting. It's crazy. And you're right, it does affect one part of the city over the other. What about, I don't know anything about Cape Verde or crime in Cape Verde or anything like that. What are the people you deal with the most at the association say about crime? And this is not just a Cape Verdean issue or a Haitian issue. It's everybody's
It's a Brockton issue.
But what do you hear? What's the pulse out there? You're always the one I know that goes to, unfortunately, the end result, which is a funeral, between some young person who may have gotten themselves involved in drugs or crime in some way. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Well, you know, we have been fortunate that a lot of the shootings that we've had in the community, that the bullets actually haven't found a body. You know, and we are fortunate. With all the shooting that we've had in this community, God only knows what would happen if it actually found a target somewhere. You know, I honestly believe that our police department, and I've always said that, and I'm not afraid of saying it, I think we've got the best police department in the state. They're way undermanned. They don't have the resources that some of the other communities have. You know, but as far as man to man, woman to woman, of the individuals that we have in the Brockton Police Department, they're the best in the state, in my opinion. And given the tools, they will be able to do it. But I think we need to do is exactly what you were just talking about. We've tried throwing police at things. That's not working. Anybody that can see will know that that's not really working. So perhaps we need to go back to basics. You know, let's have these community meetings organized locally, you know, organized in languages that we understand, organized by community people that people can actually, you know, not just to have the mayor, the chief of police, the councilors call their friends and buddies to come to these things, but invite the community.
Well, you've
and
always
have
said
that
to
done.
me, whether it be with your program or the church or whatever, that if you see a face that you trust, then people are going to get involved. They're going to
Exactly.
jump on board.
Exactly.
Like if you don't know who's talking at you, I see your point.
Well, you see, Mark, we just had the Cape Verdean Festival here in the city. I don't know how many thousands of people were at that event. The images were actually broadcast on this station, and people saw that. If Brockton was a criminal city, with the amount of people that we had in that place, with about 6 or 7 police officers that we had, do you honestly think that we would have the end result of what we had in that night? So there's a lot of good that goes on in this community. And when people in the community see that certain individuals or certain groups are behind certain things, they will buy into it. You know, we've got a very vibrant Cape Verdean association. And the thing, I bring that up because often you've got individuals in this community that for whatever reason will try to benefit from whatever is going on and call their buddies or their individuals. I have a board with 16 people on it. That's 16 people I can rely on. It's a lot more than just Mark Linde, you know. But no, but a lot of times I'll choose just to call Mark because Mark is a buddy of mine, and we're going to go about, me and Mark try to do this, me and Mark is trying to do that, when in fact that if you actually involve an organization, you could get a bigger bang for your buck.
Well, you're trying to broaden it too. We've
got Haitians,
even though it's the Cape Verdean Association
no
formal
longer
name,
no.
you have a new name for it, right?
Yeah, it's the Immigrant Assistance Center of Greater Brockton.
And what is Brockton been all its life was immigrants of different backgrounds. It's no different. Everybody wants the same thing.
Exactly.
They don't want crime. They want good education for their kids. They want activities to deal. It doesn't matter what ethnic group it is or what ethnicity it is.
Exactly.
So you like this. You like some of the headaches that you're getting. I mean, I was commenting to you before, well, at least you have hair. Mine's gone, but yours is gray. But when I knew you, you were a lot younger and you didn't have any gray hair. So what's next? What do you think we need to go, and what are you bringing back to the table to get another round as a city council?
Well, you know, I hope that the citizens of Brockton recognize, or at least remember, that what I promised to do, I did. I promised to be your voice. I spoke. I promised that I wasn't going to sit there and be fiscally irresponsible in terms of voting for tax hikes and water increases or whatever, you know, these crazy rates and increases that we had talked about. I think I held my ground. I basically have become a voice of change in the community. You know, people understand that, you know, what you see is what you get. You know, I'm not there to make friends. I'm not there to become somebody's friends. You know, I'm there to basically represent my constituency, which is the entire city of Brockton. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, pink, or purple, Cape Verdean, Haitian, Irish, Italian, Jewish, it doesn't really matter where you are. The fact is, if you love this city as much as I do, I'm someone who came here again as a youngster, went on to, you know, college, military, and did all of that because I believe in what we can do, and I honestly believe that, you know, it's okay to, you know, once in a while to throw out these slogans and sounding nicely, but when it's all said and done, you want serious people looking for at the serious issues in this community, and taking it because we've got some serious issues, you know, and it's issues that will require a whole bunch of us to come together as one to resolve these issues. And until such time that we do that, you know, you're going to have the issues that we're having in the community, and that's why I feel that I could be and continue to be that voice in bringing people together in this community, because that's all I've done all my life.
They're telling me we've got about 5 minutes left. We both know how to take cues, but if people want to help you, if they want to get a hold of you, find out more information, how do they do it?
Well, my number's public. It's a private phone number. It's a private cell phone, but it's public on the city's website. It's 508-386-5816. The email is on the website or on Facebook. Just about, I have a real tough time believing that not too many people know where to find me. St. Edith Stein on Sundays, the Cape Verdean Association at times. I work for the Boston Archdiocese. And I'm here in the city. I'm here in the city because, again, I love this city. Otherwise, I've had the options. I've traveled all over the place. I had the option of not sticking around, but I chose to stay. I'm not here because I have to be here. I chose to be here. I chose to build a new home on Summer Street because I believe in this community, and I hope that the citizens at least on the 22nd of September will remember that and remember that, it's okay to talk about how we need changes, but you need changes to improve things, not change for the sake of having change. And we have a unified council, I believe. It's probably the most diversified that it's ever been. We've got a great group of people working together for a common cause, and if it was up to me, I'd leave it the way it is, because this council actually have stepped up, with all the adversity that we faced, with all the threats of being, we're going to get sued, we're going to get dragged into court, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We've stood our ground on behalf of those that can't stand as much for our city.
3 minutes left. I'm going to give you 2 of them. Talk to the voters directly, why you should stay, and what your priorities are for the next 2 years.
My priorities will be to work with the entire community, the entire city, to bring us together and fight this crime, this wave of crime that's actually facing our community. It's destroying lives because of the people involved. It's destroying reputations because it's petrifying for some of us that traveled outside of the state to say, oh, we live in Brockton, or we're city officials in Brockton. A lot of times it's embarrassing even to say that because people start laughing and making these jokes about our city. And you know what? It's time for us to come together as a community to kind of put this thing to rest. I believe that we can do it. I believe there's enough of us educated individuals who can actually do that. And I believe that it's something that only us together, Brocktonians together, no matter where you come from, I've said it, it doesn't really matter how you got here, as long as you're here and you want to be a part of this society, part of our city, help us. But at the same time, in order for me to say that, you need to help me get back to the council, and for that I ask you for your support on the 22nd.
Well, Moses, thank you for coming. We'll see you again at the Councillor-At-Large debate. We'll have all 13 people in the same room at the same time. Then we'll whittle it down to 8. Then we'll go to 4.
Absolutely.
And we'll start all over again in the next year, on the first Monday in January.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing what you're doing, and thanks for being on.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You're watching Democratically Speaking. Mark Linde, your host. Make sure you educate yourself about all of the candidates. Check their websites, call them, speak to them about the issues. But most of all, on September 22nd, the preliminary election, go out and do your civic duty and vote. If you don't vote, don't complain. Just make sure you participate. Thanks for watching.